The hidden costs of the Fukushima disaster. After the three operating reactors were overwhelmed, the U.S. Navy sent a carrier fleet, a nuclear-powered carrier fleet, into the area. Now, given that it was a nuclear accident they were responding to, you would think that all of their defense systems, their monitoring systems, were up, that the training was being reinforced. This is warfare level event. It's a training event for nuclear warfare. Now, my understanding is these things were turned on board these ships. This isn't one nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. This is an escort fleet of dozens of ships, supply ships, protection ships, guided frigate missile carriers, and other support things to keep that aircraft carrier safe and launch all hell on our enemies. That is the intent of those fleets. That's what they're powered up and sitting around floating out in the ocean for. So this fleet, this billions of dollars in equipment, and even more in human lives on the sailors on board those ships and the Marines on board those ships, the support crews, the other ships sitting near them and by them ready to refuel, restock, resupply, reload ammunition. This was a massive fleet that good portions of it were encompassed by a radioactive plume. The aircraft that were flown on and off of that ship, major parts of their systems and airframes had to be replaced because of pollution from radioactive particles, from particles that eat and destroy some of the very precious metals used to build aircraft for weight and strength considerations. So whole parts of airframes and pieces of aircraft were thrown away. Sailors were exposed to this, and instead of becoming a radiological assessment issue for the impacts on our troops, it became a mission to obfuscate the harm done from nuclear radiation, driving into a plume of radioactive air and fallout, raining down on a ship, all the ships for days. There is an impact to this. There is a cost to this that goes unexplained. But basically, we put a nuclear carrier fleet at what I would consider medium to high risk. Any of the pilots and crews that flew those missions were at an even higher risk. There should have been a consolidated effort to monitor badges and radiobiological measurement equipment, down to even DNA samples of the troops involved, because maybe 10, 15, 20 years later, cancers start to show up in a population of the affected crews. 10 or 15 years later, most of these people are gone. They're out of the military. Their medical history may be lost unless they're conscious and aware of it and carry it with them. So, what did the U.S. military learn from the Fukushima disaster when they went in and tried to help? What was the long-term lessons gained from this? We spend trillions of dollars every year on these nuclear follies that the industry, the professionals, the people selling this, the politicians and the grifters and the misrepresenters, the undereducated that speak to this and try to sell it to us, are having a problem because their stories do not add up. They don't line up. There is no show of care. Nuclear test veterans, decades that lawsuit languished in the back rooms of our court system, letting people fade and die painful, lonely deaths, wondering what happened to them. This is something that should be talked about.